Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Big Blonde and Beautiful, the podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host, Kara Howie, and each week I pick a piece of media with fat representation in it, and I talk about the positive and the negative. This week, we're going to be talking about Six the Musical. But before we get into that, I have a very special guest to introduce, Miss Christina Wells. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Christina is an entertainer and singer. She inspires the world with her powerhouse voice and her heartfelt message of hope, love, and body positivity. You might recognize her as a semifinalist on season 13 of America's Got Talent, or matron Mama Morton in the tour of Chicago. And right now she's currently playing Meta Larkinson in Newsies at Theater Under the Stars. So yeah, been very busy.
Yeah, I've been a busy girl. But I'm so excited to be here. I love talking about all things body positive and fat inclusive. Like, we need to make space for us on the stage, literally and physically. And so, yeah, I love this. And I love the topics of your podcast. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you. I was like, I saw you on TikTok when you were playing, when you were in Chicago doing Matron Mama. I was like, she's amazing.
She's a big girl. She's a big girl
amazing.
amongst a cast of little babies, little skinny babies. And so, yeah, I loved being on that tour. That tour taught me a lot. It was a big eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah, so how long have you been auditioning professionally and like working professionally?
I've only been working professionally for 6 years. So I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years, and I worked as a nurse always. And I gave up my dreams of singing when I was 19, 20 years old, because I was always told I was too big. Just point blank. People would be like, you have a great voice. The size is a problem. Because, I'm almost 50. So this was in the 90s that I was like 94, 95 trying to sing. And that was, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. That's the late 90s. And so it's about thin as in. And so I quit trying to sing. And then I decided to sing at some local community theater, do some fun stuff, like, because my kids had grown and gotten older. And this was like in 2015, 2016. And homage to the name of your podcast, I was Motormouth Maybell and Hairspray at a local community theater here in Houston. And I ended up having like a video of me singing go semi-viral. Back then, 100,000 views was a big deal, especially, I had like 200 followers, and it was just a big deal. And America's Got Talent had talent scouts, and they actually saw the video, and I went in and auditioned, and I made it to the semifinals. And I thought, okay, this will be cool. I'll get to finally say that I sang for Simon Cowell, but ended up changing my life. It's opened up so many doors, and now I get to sing professionally. I motivationally speak about believing in your dreams, because all this stuff happened to me at the age of 42. And, now I'll be 49 this year. And so I always joke and say that I was too fat when I was younger, and I was way smaller. And now that I'm fatter and older, suddenly now I can be successful. So it's crazy.
Hey, when it happens, it happens.
Yes.
I totally understand the whole, like, kind of putting your dream on the back burner, or kind of like giving it up in a sense, because that's how I feel about musical theater at this point in my life. Is I'm like, it's gonna be so hard, and I'm like, do I want to go through that right now? Not particularly.
I never asked how old you are.
I am 23.
Okay, so I will tell you that I have a theory about this. I feel like in theater's one of the last places where we're going to see body inclusivity, because it's a visual medium, just like television, right? So there's a preconceived idea of what the characters are supposed to look like, what their bodies are supposed to be shaped like. And oftentimes it's written in the script. So it's not even like directors are being judgmental. It's like, this is what the script calls for. And so I used to be like, well, there's no place for people of size, but I've realized that the one place for people of size is aging into it. Like now, what am I? I'm a mama. I'm an aunt. I'm a wisdom giver. I'm an advice giver. That's like, people associate size with motherhood, older age. And so I think that can be a struggle when you're a younger woman wanting to perform. Like, it's a struggle unless you want to be Tracy in Hairspray, the one ingenue that's chunky, so it's a real struggle. It's a journey, but I think there's more representation and more space for us on stage in all ages now than there ever has been. with women like Kiala Settle, who are making room for us, So I think I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to give up. I want you to still believe. Look.
Okay. I will. But yeah, so you said I have played many of moms and grandmas and all that stuff doing community theater, despite the fact that I'm only 23. And do you think that, let me see how I want to phrase this. There are so many of those roles for bigger people. Do you think that they are as thought out or as like fun to play as like the young ingenue? Like, I'm assuming you have a good time playing them.
Oh, well, I do, but you have to think about it because oftentimes those roles are more princess tracks. Like, let's use Meta. So I'm Meta Larkin in Newsies, and Meta only has 4 scenes, or 5. Mm-hmm. She's on the stage 5 times. I have a total, I think I counted, of like 14 lines in the whole show. Mm-hmm. But what do I do with those lines? What do I do with my character? How much do I develop her? So I think that with an ingenue, the work is done for you. The ingenue comes out, she says, this is how old I am, this is my struggle, this is my journey, this is my hurdle. Then she has a song to overcome her hurdle. You get to see her go through her struggles. So it's all written out for you. And I feel like with these characters I play, like Mama Morton, like I developed a whole entire backstory for Mama. Like, she's not a pimp. Like, she's a lady. Mama truly believes that she is an upper class woman and that she is protecting, air quotes included, her girls, and that she is doing a service. And so when you come at it from that angle, it gives so much more texture and color. Like, not just when you're good to Mama boob shake. I'm talking like when you're good to Mama. Mama's good to you. And that puts so much more on it. So I think you're right. They aren't as fully like developed for you in the script, but I make a whole world out of it. And then I could tell that people respond to it because people always have so many comments about the way that I play my characters. And I don't think it's just the singing. I think that it's because I look up the women that made them, with Meta, Ada Overton Walker. She was a huge activist, an African-American woman in 1890s, early 1900s. And like, I'm representing her. I'm representing her activism on stage. I'm representing the fact that I'm a Black woman being a business owner, and I'm not poor. I'm not a slave. I'm not destitute. I'm not begging for anything. I'm not begging anybody to love me. I'm singing a song that says I'm rich.
Yeah.
And says my biggest problem is falling in love with the wrong man sometimes, but it'll be okay because I'll have my oil wells, my diamonds, my yacht. So yeah, I think it's what we want to make it.
Yeah, that character is also super important because like the constant trope of like the Black woman struggle.
Yes,
you have to just like fight for everything, and she's like, I already got it.
Exactly,
and I'm fine. I'm doing great.
Right, it's so true. And in the Broadway recording of the song, she says, I've got money. I've got all kinds of money and men. And it's so funny to me because like, I love it. I love that idea that she's not struggling. She's like, I fell in love with some dope. Anyways, I'm rich. Like, it don't matter. Anyway,
I'm having a good time. Yes, absolutely. So our topic for today is Six the Musical, which you said like you don't know a whole lot about, like you haven't seen it, but you've like heard of it.
I know it. Yeah, I love the Tudor Dynasty. And when it came out, I was super excited about it. I've heard all the songs, watched the YouTubes, done the TikTok, watched all the TikToks about it. But, I haven't seen it personally. I want to see it, but I haven't yet. But I love this idea as a topic for today. So let's go. Let's go.
All right. So I'm going to give a little synopsis for people who like haven't seen it or don't really know what it's about. So Six the Musical tells the story of the 6 wives of Henry VIII, like you've never heard before. At the start of the musical, the 6 women argue with one another as they try to make out who had it worse. But as they listen to their stories, they open up their hearts to each other and realize it's better to stick together. And yes, I love this show for so many reasons. I got to see it in Chicago, and it was so good. I love the fact that it's like basically an all-female cast, including the band. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's empowering. It's
Mm-hmm.
empowering to see that many women on stage. It makes you feel excited.
Yes. And it's just fun. It feels almost like a concert, which is
Yeah,
the
that
vibe that they were
very
going
much.
for.
Mhm.
And yeah, so, and I've seen the production that I specifically saw didn't really have like bigger bodies in it. I think there was one and she played Anne of Cleves, but I've seen all of the wives be played by different types of people.
Size. Well, and I feel
Yeah.
like they put a bigger body in Catherine usually. At
Mm-hmm.
least the productions that I've seen online. Like, I liked that because she's, an older wife also. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, she's just thicker. And I'm like, come on now, baby. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. I also really like seeing bigger girls playing like oh my goodness, Anne Boleyn
Yes.
and Catherine Howard, just because they're the more like young, sexy ones, and I'm like, we can do that too.
Yes. Especially because I think it's really satisfying, in my opinion, to hear a powerful voice from a bigger body.
Mm-hmm.
That gets me excited.
Yes.
Because I feel like Anne Boleyn's character, her track has a lot of this what I call the screlting. She's giving the face, the mask, the mix, those high notes we want to hear.
Yes. Absolutely.
I love
But
how
I
your
think,
eyes got big. You're like, yes.
yeah, she does. But I think my favorite's honestly Anne of Cleves. I just love her song and her little
Really?
like reveal that they get to do with her outfit. I'm like, yes.
Especially because of the fact that the perspective that she was considered the unattractive wife.
Yeah, which I think is also another reason why we see a lot of bigger bodies playing Anne. I feel like there's more of them playing that one, but
Oh, because they're like representing her unattractiveness with weight.
yeah, I feel like,
Jaw on the floor, gasps of utter horror.
yeah. I mean, it's an amazing character. I would love to play any of them, but I think so because it's like, there's this whole thing in society where, especially with dating apps now, they're like, oh, you're catfishing. And I make sure when I've been on dating apps, I'm not on any now. I'm like, you see my whole body. You know that I'm fat. You know
Oh,
what you're getting into.
so heaven forbid that you can't tell how fat I am from my face. That's the
Yeah.
catfish.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Oh,
oh, you have a skinny looking face. Like the body doesn't match. And then it's like, oh, you're catfishing. So I feel like it kind of plays into that.
what is
Back
this
in like,
like? We have to be like give a disclaimer. I'm fat. Like we should put that on the picture. Disclaimer in case you like me. I'm fat. Should we also put any disabilities, any diseases? Because first of all, one thing I want to say is that the one biggest thing that I have learned is that a lot of people who have smaller bodies aren't necessarily fit or toned. Like when those jeans come off, tummies lay out and thighs flop and skin sags. Like the conception that a bigger body is somehow inherently less attractive because you can already see, like you may be able to see my rolls, but that doesn't mean that the girl who weighs 140 pounds don't got them too.
yeah.
Just maybe easily hidden anyways. Soapbox. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're fine. But yeah, so I feel like it kind of plays that narrative too of like the modern catfish. She was like the OG catfish, I guess, which wasn't her fault. She was painted, and I don't even know if she actually looked like her painting. I've never looked into that.
No, it's a real thing that and I think it's also a fair thing because she was a plainer woman. And, Henry was known to obviously want beautiful women and he surrounded himself with beautiful women. And so I think that the men around her were like, we're going to have to juice this up a little
Yeah.
if he's going to say yes to it. And then I think this was a case of catfishing because this is the true literal term of it. But then to put a plus size body to be like, this is the unattractive one is thumbs down. There's a thumbs down for me on that.
I agree with that. I wish that they wouldn't do that as much. That's my only major qualm with this show. Is that but I mean they put him in the other roles too. So I just feel like it plays up that trope of like, oh my cat's gonna.
Hey, kitty meow meow.
Sir, what are you doing? His name's Echo.
Look, so we don't want to have any echoes in the interview.
No, but we got one.
We got one. There we go.
We got one. I work with kids, and whenever they so I work at a daycare, and whenever I get after them for something, and one of their friends decides to reiterate what I've said, I said, I don't need an echo. I have one at home.
Oh.
I don't need it. Are you good? Okay. Anyway, we'll just
yes. But I don't like when people use weight as a negative.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think roles if you watch Bridgerton.
Oh, hello.
Like Nicola Coughlan as Penelope.
Nicola is not heavy.
This is
the biggest misconception, is Nicola is not heavy. Nicola is 4'10".
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. I didn't realize she was that short.
She's like a munchkin. And she is tiny. But because she has such big gazongas,
yeah,
it puts so much weight in her upper area. But if you look at her, which I haven't watched episode 4 yet, I'm sure there's a lot of looking to be done. Come on, Kara. Look, she's not plus size, but it does feel like plus size representation with her there. And in the first season, they do talk about her weight. She's 20 stone heavier than she should be. So she does feel like plus size representation for us. And I don't think she's against that, but she's not actually plus size.
Yeah, she's what I've heard people call entertainment fat.
There you go.
Which is she's not like a straight size with no curves or anything. So therefore she's considered plus size or fat in the entertainment industry. So
yeah, good old entertainment industry.
Yeah, that's why I kind of feel bad for Nicola, because I feel like so many people are putting the pressure on her to be this fat representation, and she probably doesn't consider herself fat because she's really not.
No, she's not.
And so she's probably I know she's been please stop talking about my body. Focus on the acting and everything else and stop.
Yeah, I just think, if I'm very honest, I think that's unrealistic expectation, because that's what happens when you get in front of people. Me, myself, doing television, I'm not doing she's doing television, but having been on America's Got Talent, putting my body online, I expected it. And I got thousands of positive comments, and I got thousands of negative comments.
Oh yeah.
People comment on what they see, and that comes in everything. Every blonde gets a comment on the color of her hair. Every tall person they say they're tall over and over and over again. You're so tall, you're so tall, you're so tall. And so if you're so fat, or if you're different than everyone else, everyone's gonna comment on it. And I think that's something with entertainment that I've come to accept.
Yeah.
And I have a rules. I don't read comments on YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube is the worst.
Yeah, and I actually left Twitter, or X. I left it about a year ago. I don't participate in it at all. It doesn't match up with my brand or my energy in any way or form. And so I just think that as plus size people, we need to recognize that people are going to comment on our bodies. And so instead of trying to fight that, I just kind of let it happen, because I think most of the time, unfortunately, the people that are commenting on our bodies, they hate themselves and their own bodies, and they're just self-reflecting. Yeah. I always say, if you're willing to say that to me, what are you saying to yourself in your head?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's fat people that are commenting the worst things.
It's either fat people or people who think they're fat.
Yeah, or who have been fat and then lost the weight, and they're like, guys.
But the reason is because they fat shamed themselves to lose the weight. So they think they're helping you by fat shaming you. Then you can lose the weight. Come join me. Yeah. I'm over here on the other side of the rainbow. You're disgusting. Don't you want to be better? But that's what they say to themselves.
Yeah. And it's backed up by society, because you are treated better when you're thin. 100%. So they're like, oh, I'm saying this to myself, and then on top of that, the world is saying this to me. And when I lost the weight, I got treated better, so there you go.
Yes.
And it's we should just be treating people like people, no matter what. It's really
We need that hurdle so we can find the good people from the bad. I need a way to sort people out.
True.
You can't sort people out if everyone acts good. Look, I need to be. Oh, what? Like my favorite. The past 3 years, I got diagnosed with diabetes in 2020, and I started. Let me do some things to improve my health. And I'm a nurse. I know the things to do, and so I've been slowly working. And I'd say I've lost about 65 pounds over the last 3 years. So I've done it super slow. I've taken my time, and when people see me, immediately they're like, "You look so good," and they look at my stomach. They're like, "Wow, oh my gosh, you look so good," and the inference is I look better.
Yeah.
And so it makes me laugh because I'm just like, people are very invested in other people's bodies.
They really are. Kind of crazy. I'm like, okay.
I know even men have been hitting on me lately, which men don't hit on me when I'm super heavy. They don't see you at all. You're invisible.
Yeah.
And now that I feel like my fat rolls are a little too hidden, I'm like, whoa, I'm fat under here. Excuse me.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, don't get too close, mister. I don't know about you.
But yeah, that's why I feel like roles like the Penelope and Bridgerton and having these women in Six who have diverse bodies is so important, because we don't get to see a lot of positive things when it comes to being fat in the media and things like that. So it's nice.
It is nice. It's also welcoming, and it makes us feel like there are doors that can be opened for us. And it also gives permission to directors and entertainment officials to know, because what do we all see is that whenever Nicola has millions of followers, then executives behind closed doors who are like, nobody wants to be a fan of a fat person, is like, oh wait, there are people who are fans of fat people. I always joke and say, fat women have dollars to spend, clothing companies. We have money, we have influence, we have, and so we have fandom to share, we have money to buy tickets to things. And so I think that it gives permission to the powers that be to say, okay, I can cast someone of size in what I'm doing and it'll be supported.
Absolutely. And speaking of buying tickets for things, something that I've found so frustrating is not only on the stage, I mean, it's getting better, but is it not inclusive? But even the seating for theaters are horrendous. But
bad. That's always going to be driven by quantity. You're never going to convince anyone to put bigger seats, because that means you're going to sell fewer tickets.
Yeah.
Because if I can put 2,600 seats in this room, but if I now go size inclusive, I can only put 2,400 seats. I just lost a lot of money every single night of a show. And that's the thing. Anything that affects the money is not going to be we can have disability entrances, or we can have this, or we can have that. That's not going to affect my money, or I'm going to get fined if I don't do those things. Then they're going to do it. But something that's going to take their money away that they don't have to do legally, they're not going to do.
Yeah. So. I saw in 2021, I was in New York and I saw Hadestown.
Yeah.
The worst theater seats I've ever sat in. Not only was it not wide enough, there was not enough room for my legs. Because I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'10".
Oh, wow.
And so I'm I don't have room.
So your whole experience was ruined because of it.
I mean, I still enjoyed the show, but it was not comfy, and my ankle was messed up from how I had to sit afterwards. And I was like, guys, I just wanted to sit here and enjoy the show. And then of course I feel awkward because the person next to me is also smushed against me. And I'm like, is this ruining their experience? That sucks.
I hate that feeling. Same thing with the airlines. Look, we've left the theater. Now we're talking about seats everywhere. No, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
That experience is a thing.
And I was also curious, have you had positive experiences with costuming, or have you had any negative experiences?
That's a great question. So I have been incredibly blessed that the places I've performed, they welcome my body with open arms. And they make me custom clothing. They make me these gorgeous gowns. They put tons of energy and effort. When I did Chicago, I will be honest that I was not a Chicagoan before I did the show. So just like Newsies has fansies, Chicago has a huge world of fans that are just inherent to the show. It has nothing to do with the casting. This is the show. They love it. And I always say that people come to see Chicago to hear Cell Block Tango, When You're Good to Mama, and all that jazz. That's why they're there. That's why they show up. That's what they want to see. And so I had no idea about that the costumes are the same since 1995.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. So let me tell you. So all the costumes, every costume of every professional production of Chicago around the world.
Oh, wow.
Has to be legally in the contract the same as the 1995 production that won all the Tonys and everything.
Okay.
So, we're talking the little black dress. We're talking, right, the silver shoes. No color on stage whatsoever. The ostrich fans, even all the ensemble, they're always the same costumes as the Broadway show. And the Broadway show is the same as the original show. So Mama always wears a pinstripe suit with a corset underneath it. And I don't wear pants. Like, I can wear pants, and I have wore pants, but I don't wear pants on stage. I carry all my weight in my stomach. I don't have hips. I don't have a butt. I don't
Me
have
neither.
thighs.
I'm the same, built the same way.
Yeah, she's an apple. I always say I'm a cucumber. I'm a cucumber. And if I wear heels, I'm a cake pop. Look. So, all my tummy. So, first of all, I was like, I can't wear a corset. This is a crazy thought process for me to wear a corset the whole show. And then the suit that they first put on me, like I look like my arms were up in duck wings, and so they had to go back to the drawing board. And I asked if I could wear a skirt, just a skirt with the jacket and the corset, or a bra, something lacy. And they actually sent a message to request if I could wear a skirt, because like my stomach just being cut in half by pants was the craziest thought process to me.
Yeah.
Well, they said absolutely not, because the show is we're talking Patti LaBelle, Jennifer Holliday, Jinx, like everyone who's Mama, this is what they wear. So I had to adapt myself, and they made me like a little shorter pant, like almost like a culotte type pants, and then it made it a little high rise with suspenders, and then I wore a bralette instead of the corset, and then we buttoned my jacket instead of leaving it open. So they made accommodations for me because I'm a big girl. If you haven't seen me before and you're listening to this, she's juicy. I'm a 4X 5X lady, and I mean, I'm gonna stomp out there, I'm gonna sing the song, I'm gonna give you all the things you need, but she big, and so but I've been blessed, but it is definitely a journey. People always say that, now that I've had the successes that I've had, it must not matter anymore. No. I may get in rooms easier, and I may get cast easier because people do know of me, and I have gained a following. Like I said, it proves that, I can sell tickets or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you get my body on stage, I got cast in a show that will not be named to be a character that I cannot say. And I was so excited. It was a phenomenal contract, and it was something I've been wanting to do, and it was on a ship, and it was something that I really wanted to play, and I got cast for the role. And then there was a lift that happened in the show, with a pneumatic, raising machine that was going to bring this character out onto the stage from another location. And I was too big, both in measurements and weight, for that lift. And so the technical director wrote to casting and was like, we can't have her. After they had already offered me the contract and everything. And so my size matters. My size still matters. And I mean, obviously I wasn't supposed to do that show because that's how that works. But it does. It matters. But I've been blessed, and the outfits I have for Meta, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. I've heard some horror stories, so I'm glad that you've had mostly good experiences.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel though in Chicago when they had to make alterations that you were I guess a burden or anything, or were they?
I cried and cried and cried. I cried and cried. And I even blogged about it. I have a blog on my website at ChristinaWells.com where I talk about being the fat person, because Chicago isn't a normal musical. It is, they cast the sexiest bodies because everyone is in lingerie, literally panties. And
Yeah.
so you have everyone in panties. Then you have Amos, who is going to be cast by a big guy. So he can be kind of a doofus and sad. And then you have Mary Sunshine, which that's hit or miss. It's somewhat a man who can sing that high. But Roxy is a killer body. She's got to be the dancer. Velma, again, killer body. Billy Flynn is going to be, suave and debonair. And so super handsome, usually super physically fit. The guy who played ours had been Gaston before, like always really fit, right? And then you have Mama, and like I said, I'm going to be 49, so I was 25 to 30 years older than everyone in the cast. I was the oldest person on the cast, and I was triple to quadruple the size of everyone. Like, we're talking, these dancers weighed 110 pounds, 120 pounds. And so I'll go to costume, and then I have to wear pants. I'm so fat. They have to put panels in my legs. They had to put stretchy panels in the jacket to fit my arms. It was just because, suiting isn't stretchy. So when you wear suits, they're polyester, they're not stretchy. So they had to put stretchy pieces in. It was a whole journey, and it was demoralizing at first, but they were lovely, and they worked to make it work. But of course, I cried and cried, and also just every day we had to do they called a family warm up, which is the whole cast had to get together before half hour and do a physical warm up. So they're like doing bar and legs and stretches, but as a group. And I would sit in a chair in the back, like, what in the heck? Like, I'll do some arm raises, but like they're literally like, in third position, let's. And I'm just like, so yeah, I felt my size that whole tour. I felt it every day.
Yeah. That's rough. I would have not been able to do that either.
Well, I've had to learn what I always joke and say, I know what animal I am. Because if you hire me, you're hiring me to bring the voice. Like, that's what I'm there to do.
Park and bark.
I am a park and bark, and I'm proud of it. And I'm going to bring the voice. I'm going to bring my heart. I'm going to bring my soul. And I'm also going to bring my stage presence. And so I'm not ashamed of my body. I love her. And she does amazing things. She's held babies. She's held dying patients in these arms. She's carried people. She's held and taken care of family, friends, loved ones. And gotten me through so many hard times. So I love this body, and I'm grateful for her. And so when I go out on stage, every time I carry all of it, the belly, the rolls, all of it. And I'm like, here she is. And then I sing my pants off. And so I'm proud.
As you should.
And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. And so I had to really come to grips with that. I know why I'm here. I know you may be here to dance, or you may be here to be sexy. I have my own brand of sexy, and I'm going to sing the paint off the walls. So here we go.
Yes, I love that. As you should.
Thank you.
You have an incredible voice. I've been listening to your YouTube things. I was like, she can sing for sure. But yeah, that would definitely be rough. But like I said, I'm glad that overall you've had a positive experience. Like, no one's been like, you need to lose weight to fit into these clothes.
No, never.
Type of thing.
No, that has never happened. And I think it's also about how you talk to costuming people. And I will say also that I joke and say that I rarely have to act because I get cast as myself all the time. And so, look, because Mama's me, child, telling people what to do and run a business, that's me. Meta is me, telling everybody what to do. No, look. And so because of that, I think that the costumer wants to highlight, what the character is, She's big, she's larger than life. Whoever she is. I mean, I've been Ursula, I've been Motormouth Maybelle, Sylvia and All Shook Up. I was Sour Kangaroo in Seussical. And they made me this beautiful, floaty, yellow, jumper dress. And I had these gaucho pants. I had all these floaty silk and then little tiny ears. Like, I was the least kangaroo you could be, but I was divine. And so I think that, when you have a costumer who has a vision, they put you in the vision. They don't make the vision and then you have to figure out how to be a part of it. They're like, the vision's around you.
Yes, that's a good costumer.
Yes.
Because, that's how a good costumer does it. For sure.
Yes.
Because I wanted to bring up costumes because I hadn't personally felt this way, but I'd seen some online discourse about how sometimes the alternates have different costumes in Six,
Oh,
and people
well,
were like, "Oh, that's fat phobic or whatever," and I was like, I don't like that they have different costumes
but
because
this is a
weird, but
great topic for, like, remember Funny Girl? Do you remember when Funny Girl
yes,
was, you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you?
yeah, I sure do.
That very, like, almost boring costumes that they had for the originator. What was her name? The
Beanie
original. Thank you,
Feldstein.
Beanie.
Mm-hmm.
She just, these very, like, matronly looking costumes that they
Yeah,
also had her understudy wear, like these very boring, strange, drapey costumes. But then Leah Michelle gets cast, and now it's snatched and it's
yeah,
gorgeous. And they redid, and you know why? I'm sure she was like, I'm not wearing any of that. And they were like, of course, let's make it to accent your figure.
yeah.
And they got fried in the media for it.
As they should have. Yeah, the one that I specifically remember is the final dress, like the red one. It had like these flowy
The drapey
sleeves.
things.
Yeah, when Beanie was in it, and then as soon as Beanie left, they got rid of him.
Yep.
I was like, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
we know why you did that. We know.
Yes.
It's pretty
Yes.
obvious.
Yes.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
I
I'm
feel
like,
like she was set up for failure with that whole situation. That's a whole
she
other
was.
topic, but I don't think they would have treated. I do think that her size mattered, and I don't think that that show would have had the same situation if she was smaller.
It wouldn't have, which just sucks because I love her. One of my favorite movies is Booksmart, which she's one of the leads in.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I know that she's done theater before. I don't know if she's been in like Broadway shows before, but I know that she like grew up. I think her mom.
Yeah, her parents. Yes. I think with her, involved. The biggest thing with her is she's a character actress, and Fanny has to be a Park and Bark. Fanny has to be a Park and Bark. Fanny's a voice that can act. I always joke and say I'm here to sing, and they force me to talk in between my songs. That's what it has to be, and she just she wasn't that. But yeah, her size was. It wasn't highlighted and featured the way it could have been. They could have done something great there. So that's the thing that people don't get. If I give advice to the universe, instead of trying to hide some quality, what do they call it? The Barbra Streisand effect. I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Where she had the whole. Do you know this story?
I don't think so.
Okay, so there's a thing called the Streisand effect, and what it is Barbra Streisand's house is on the coast of California, and they were doing coastal photos for geographical mapping, and in the coastal pictures, picture number 276 out of like 1,000 photos is a photo of her home, because her home is like premier on the edge of this area in California. So at the time in which she discovered this happened, 6 people had seen the photo, and she felt her privacy was invaded upon. So she did a whole thing to get that picture removed from the geographical images. Because she did that, she drew so much attention. Now, millions of people have seen the picture. Why? Because they want to see what she's talking about. So if you are someone and you think, oh, if I try to hide this, when you try to hide it, you're pointing at it. So when they tried to hide Beanie's figure, they were pointing out they didn't like it. But if they would have snatched her up in an outfit, and maybe if she has, like, I've got arm bags, let's say that she didn't have skinny arms. Okay, we'll wrap them in something slinky and like let's feature her body. Then they would have gotten tons of kudos, positive advertising, positive marketing. Like, it's just like when you don't think your hair looks good, what do? You touch it constantly. When you're embarrassed of your stomach, you put your hands in front of it. You're pointing at it. So instead, point at it with something good. Caress your hair when you don't think it looks good. Stick your stomach out when you feel embarrassed about it. Suddenly, then no one notices. They think you just look great.
Yeah, that's great advice. And absolutely, they really missed the ball on that one. And I think a lot of people went to hate watch it, which is crazy. You're spending money on Broadway tickets to hate watch something, but you know.
People hate and love there's a very thin line. I was just thinking that in the shower, because fandom is fanaticism, and it stands real close to hatred. Like, I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I wish I could do what you could do. I hate you. Like, there's a little line where you jump over and now all of a sudden, yeah, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the swings have different costumes sometimes than the main girls, like, and they'll be different colors too. So like one
Yeah.
of them's like orange or something. I'm like, I still don't get why they do that. I
Why
don't
don't
get
they
it.
make the exact same costume?
I know. I'm like,
I have an understudy for Meta, and she has a different costume than I do. I think it's just
mm-hmm.
because, she would be a different kind of Meta.
Yeah.
Like when I go out there and my big bellied self and full of fringe and I swing it around, like I'm literally like, like she don't got that same equipment. She got different equipment. And so I think just as much as we want them to highlight our bodies, I think they're highlighting those understudies' bodies
Yeah.
in the right way as well.
My biggest qualm is just the colors. I just wish all the colors were the same.
You're
But
like, keep it the same, people.
yeah. But other than that, I do agree that like swings should have their own costumes that like fit them properly and
Yeah.
highlight them the way that they should be highlighted. Because swings do a lot of work.
So
Like
much work.
I don't even know if my brain could like remember all of those things.
Shoot, I try to just remember my things. It's so hard for me to remember my own stuff,
Yeah.
much less remember a bunch of other stuff or multiple people's tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So overall, you said that you think that it has gotten more inclusive in recent years. Where do you think that Broadway should go with this, and how do they become even more inclusive, not just with size, but just with everything?
I think it's happening. I think it's already occurring. I think that we have to remember, though, that people buy tickets. So this is the part everyone struggles with. And Juliet has a ton of people of color, size, gender on the stage. We're seeing more shows where there's all African Americans on stage. We're seeing more shows where there's plus size people on stage. Jinx Monsoon, being first transgendered mama. So there's tons of inclusivity happening. But you have to remember people buy tickets. And who's buying tickets? It is not Gen X young kids buying the hundreds of dollar tickets to Broadway. It's people who have disposable income. And a lot of times people who have disposable income are older. And older people don't always want to see those things on stage. And that is the part we have to understand and accept. Because as much as it feels hurtful, it's a business. It is a business about selling tickets. The reason Newsies is doing so well is because the show is loved. Like, they know the music and they love the show. And so the example I would use is the Jeremy Jordan. So the guy who plays Jack has to sing a high A. He doesn't have an option. And we could say, that's not fair. Not every guy can sing a high A. Well, that's what you have to do to be in that show. So if we want more shows that have more plus size people, we need more plus size people to write shows from their perspective with their bodies on stage. And we also have to understand, as time passes and as we get older, my generation, my kids, who will have disposable income, who will be more open minded to see plus size bodies on stage, then we will see more ticket sales. And it's just like Ashley Graham on the cover of a swimsuit. What is it? Swimsuit. It's illustrated. You know what I'm talking about. And then Kiala Settle being cast as the bearded lady. Just seeing so many more plus size bodies on stage in places that we on TV in movies. Then it makes you feel like it's normal. It doesn't feel like oh my God, there's a fat woman in this. And also fat women being played as strong, smart, not just their fat being their journey. Like, oh, here's a fat woman because she's going to lose weight. And once she loses weight, she'll find love. So
can't
I
really
think,
do that on stage.
yeah. And even more than that, like, it's not true. Like, I had a teacher once tell me, she was like, maybe if you took better care of your body, you could find, someone to care and love you. And I'm like, I've been in a committed relationship for years. And she was shocked. She was shocked. But then I knew, I was like, you have an eating disorder. Like, you're so fit and you tell us how you run every day. And you just openly told a student out loud with your mouth that I'm too fat. Like, You're not even afraid. You're not even fearful of the HR implications of that because you have such an eating disorder that you need to shame me
Mm-hmm.
because you are shaming yourself and then you're looking at me and I can't imagine the things that are unsaid in your head.
Yeah. If you're willing to say that out loud,
I know.
I don't
It's
know
like
what's going on in
it's the
here.
Titanic, baby. That glacier is big under the water.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, I normally do whether or not we think overall it's positive or negative fat representation. So for Six the Musical, what do you think?
I think if you see consistent Anna Cleves being cast as a fat woman and it's a way to subtly represent her ugliness or her catfishing, 100% that gets a thumbs down from me.
Okay.
Because fat doesn't mean ugly. Fat is
No,
just a
absolutely not.
quality. Tall doesn't mean ugly. Tall doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean aggressive. Like we place these definitions onto these qualities. And fat doesn't mean ugly. I am a beautiful woman and I am
Mm-hmm.
also deliciously fat. So when people try to equate fat with ugly, they get a thumbs down in my book.
Yeah, I do agree with Anne of Cleves. I would like to see less of bigger bodies cast as her. But I also it's weird because I've talked about this too, like in the Barbie movie. There was like one fat Barbie, and I was like, yes, thank God. And it's just so nice to see the representation that I'm like struggled to give it a negative because I'm like so much of it is positive, but this one
But it's
thing
the
kind of ruins
why.
it.
But it's the
Yeah.
why. It's not the what, it's the why. So let's
Mm-hmm.
make Anne Boleyn. Let's make her the chunky one.
Yeah.
She's considered to be so seductive, so beautiful that she changed Catholicism
Yeah.
permanently. Let's make her juicy.
Absolutely. And they don't cast enough big girls as Anne Boleyn. They need to start doing that more.
Wouldn't that? What if we really found out Anne Boleyn was thickums? Like in real life, like they find some painting and it's like she was a generously curved. Henry liked him thick. Oh, now that Tudor dynasty would get real dynasty.
Well, I mean, Henry was a big guy himself, so
I know. Well, no one ever
he
looks at
was
that.
just, I
What
just
is it?
don't like
That's
him.
that line in the song. Nobody ever talks about his
True. Nobody does.
his size.
Yeah. Teeny tiny.
That's funny.
But yeah, so you say negative. I'm gonna still stick with positive, but I'd like to see some changes in it.
Amen. I like it. I like your perspective.
Yeah. But I think that is all for this episode. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having
So
me. Thanks for
happy.
reaching out to me online. It makes me so happy. I love doing stuff like
Absolutely.
this. I love getting to lend my voice literally to the message of fat inclusivity. So thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything like you want to plug, like your website, your social medias?
Yes, I have a website, ChristinaWells.com. And the thing that I'm really excited about is I have a weekly email newsletter that goes out just once a week. I'm not selling you anything. I'm not trying to give anything to anyone but positivity and hope. I have tons of positive things about mental health, and I share resources, information, quotes, coping skills. I share where I'm going to be performing. I make custom make clothes, Christina Wells Design. So if you want to go and join my email newsletter at ChristinaWells.com, I would love that. Be a part of what I call my Diva Squad, and so I can share love with my divas every week. So yeah, ChristinaWells.com.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to join that newsletter.
Please do. I love it. I'm super proud of it. My team and I, we work really, really hard because, the algorithms have changed for social media. So even if you follow someone, you don't see them in your feed like you used to. And so we created the newsletter and we work really hard to make sure that it is something that we always say that it lends and gives things to the followers. I don't want to be like, here, buy this, give me this, give me. I want to give something back. I want to say, give me your email address and I want to give something to you, something that lifts your heart, something that makes you feel better about life, and it just is positive. And so yeah, that's what it's for.
Yeah. And you can also follow the podcast on Instagram at bbb.podcast and TikTok at bbb.thepodcast. You can follow me on all platforms at Carolina Howie. That's Carolina with a K. And until next time, stay fat and fabulous. Bye.
Bye.